Have you ever stood before a river and wondered, really wondered, what lay on the other side? Another land? Another life? In the mid-19th century, for tens of thousands of African Americans, the answer to that question was a single word: freedom. That river was the Detroit River, and the other side was Canada. But to reach that river, they had to travel 1,000 miles, not by train, not by boat, but by an invisible path woven of courage, silence, and the kindest of hearts. A path that history calls the Underground Railroad. Hello everyone, and welcome back to HH Audio Stories. Today, I want to invite you to explore one of the most tragic and heroic chapters in American history. A story that lives not only in books, but one whose footprints are still deeply imprinted on the very soil of Michigan, where we stand today. To understand this path, we must first go back to the darkness. The heavy darkness of slavery in the American South. Imagine a life where you don't belong to yourself. Every breath you take, every drop of sweat you shed, every child you bring into the world is another man's property. Your family could be broken at any moment. Dreams are a luxury you can't afford. And hope. Hope is a flickering candle that is always in danger of being snuffed out. In that long, dark night, a decision dawned on the hearts of the bravest souls. Escape. It was not an easy decision. It was a death sentence if they failed. They were hunted by ruthless slave catchers and their vicious dogs. They faced starvation, disease, and the brutality of the wild. So how did they do it? How did they travel hundreds, even thousands of miles north, through lands that were completely unknown? The answer lies in those three words: the Underground Railroad. It wasn't a real railroad with tracks and steam engines. It was a code name, a secret network of brave men, black and white, who believed that slavery was an evil and that they had a moral obligation to fight against it. In this network, everything was a code. The escaped slaves were called passengers, their guides were called guides, and the safe houses, a basement, a loft and a warehouse, a secret room behind a bookshelf, were called stations. The journey almost always began at night. Passengers would navigate by following the North Star, the brightest star in the northern sky, the celestial guide that led them to their hopes. They traveled from one station to the next, often only 10 to 20 miles at a time. At each stop, a station master, who might be a Quaker farming family, a church minister, or a free black man who had known the bitterness of slavery, would give them food, shelter, and directions for the next leg of their journey. They communicated using secret signals. A specially patterned blanket hung on a fence might mean, "This house is safe." A song with unusual lyrics might point to a secret path. The journey was one of terror and extreme tension. Every bark of a dog, every distant flash of a lantern, every hoofbeat of a horse could mean the end. And as they passed through states like Ohio and Indiana, they knew they were approaching the most important stop on the route, a place where hope was clearer than ever. That place was Michigan. That place was Detroit. Why Detroit? Because it was Canada. Under British law at the time, once a slave set foot on Canadian soil, they were immediately legally free. No slave catcher had the authority to arrest them and take them back. So Detroit became known as Midnight, the final stop on the western line of the Underground Railroad. And the conductors here, they were real heroes. This is the Second Baptist Church of Detroit. Founded in 1836, it was more than just a place of worship. It was one of the most important and active stations in Detroit. It is said that this church has housed thousands of passengers over the years, some in secret tunnels and hiding places. Imagine, right below where we stand, how many people held their breath in the darkness, waiting for the last ride across the river. And we must speak of the extraordinary individuals, people like George de Baptiste, a free African American, a successful businessman in Detroit. On the surface, he was a respected citizen, but in the shadows, he was one of the bravest conductors. He owned a steamboat called the T. Whitney. Under the guise of transporting commercial goods, he secretly ferried hundreds, if not thousands, of people across the Detroit River to freedom. Every trip his boat made was a vessel filled with hope, or the story of Thornton and Lucy Blackburn. In 1831, they escaped from Kentucky and made it to Detroit. But tragedy struck when they were identified and arrested. As news spread, the black community of Detroit rose up. A group of women visited Lucy in her jail cell, swapped clothes with her, and helped her escape to Canada. As for Thornton, while he was being escorted by guards, a crowd attacked them and freed him. The couple was eventually, and safely, reunited in Canada. Their story shows the incredible solidarity and courage of an entire community. Let's just stand here for a moment. Let's breathe this air, and let's try to imagine that feeling. After a long and punishing journey, after sleepless nights and hungry days, after witnessing unimaginable things, you are standing here. You see the other side. It's no longer the distant North Star. Freedom is right there, a physical place, just across a river. It wasn't just freedom from chains. It was the freedom to be human, the freedom to own yourself, to love your family without fear of separation, to build a future. The moment a passenger's foot touched Canadian soil, a new life truly began. Today, the Underground Railroad no longer operates. Slavery has been abolished, but its legacy is eternal. It is not just the legacy of African Americans. It is the legacy of all of us. It is proof that in the darkest of times, human goodness and courage can shine through. It shows that ordinary people, when united for a noble cause, can create extraordinary change. This network, where white and black citizens risked their lives together for a shared ideal, was one of America's first and most powerful civil rights movements. Our journey today is just a small glimpse into a magnificent story. There are still so many stations, so many silent heroes whose names we do not know. Their stories remind us that history is not only written by generals and politicians. History is written by the ordinary people who dared to do what was right, no matter the cost. Thank you for joining me on this journey through history today. If you ever have the chance to visit Detroit, take a moment to come to this riverbank. Look to the other side and remember the remarkable people who passed this way. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video so the story of Michigan's silent heroes can be heard. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next journey.